Moving to Australia can mean that you don't have the same support network for you and your children. Unless you're moving for family, in which case, lucky you. You might find it difficult to meet new people, and you may get the feeling of wanting to put your child up for adoption just so someone else will look after them. No? Just me? Well, there's good news for you, because in Australia, there's Childcare Subsidy. G'day guys, my name's Ross, and recently I moved from the UK to Australia with my family to start a better life. On our channel, we share our journey assimilating into Australian culture with the hope of helping and inspiring you to also make the move yourself. If you're thinking of moving to Australia with children, or perhaps you're going to have children in the near future, then this video is for you. We're going to be talking about what is Childcare Subsidy, do you qualify, how much does it cost, and most importantly, how to get it. So if you're stuck looking after one of these things, watch this video and it might help you out. So first of all, what is Childcare Subsidy? Childcare Subsidy helps you with the costs of approved childcare. If you're eligible for it, Childcare Subsidy is a percentage reduction in your childcare. According to careforkids.com.au, the average cost of childcare in Australia is about $115.14. You know it's legit when they use such a precise amount. If you have any specific parts of Australia or any suburbs in mind, check out their website and you can find out exactly how much childcare is roughly going to cost for you. This place is pretty cheap, and I don't think I could afford to be living here. In the UK, childcare can be really expensive. And to be honest, Australia isn't really an exception. However, Childcare Subsidy does qualify for your children pretty much as soon as they're born, if you want to be that kind of parent that sends your kid to childcare straight away. Totally not judging. I love my time with my daughter, and I also love the time that I'm not with her. In the UK, you don't get any reduction, unless you have to wait until they're 3 years old, and if they're anything like my daughter, you've probably wanted to try and kill them by then already. If you've got no parents that you can offload your kids onto so you can actually go to work, then Childcare Subsidy means that you can go to work and not have to use your wages just to pay for childcare. So any reduction in this total cost is ultimately a win. Win-win. So, do you qualify for Childcare Subsidy? Childcare Subsidy only really applies for children under 13, unless you've got an exemption. You have to use an approved childcare service. Why would you want to send your kid to some backyard childcare place? You also have to be the person responsible for paying the childcare fees, so no palming it off to some rich sugar daddy. And you also have to meet the residency and immunisation requirements. For the residency requirements, you either have to be a citizen, have a partner visa, or qualify for a permanent residency visa. So these are things like the 186, 187, 189, and 190 visas. If you don't have permanent residency in Australia, you don't really qualify for Childcare Subsidy. So this is definitely something that you'll need to factor into your move, or at least plan how you can convert your temporary visa into a permanent visa as soon as possible. And lastly, you also need to be up to date with all of your child's immunisation records. Now this doesn't mean that they're up to date in the UK, it means they need to be up to date to an Australian standard. To do this, we provided our Red Book from the UK, which was basically a log of all of her immunisations. We provided that to our Australian doctor, and then they updated her Medicare records and her records with the immunisation register. When they're updating them, they're also checking that they're also meeting the Australian standards. So we needed a couple of immunisations for Aurora, just because they don't really have the same schedule as the UK. This can take a few weeks to update, or if you're in Queensland, it's going to take even longer because everything's slow here. So if you're trying to get your kid into childcare straight away, this might affect your first few payments, and you won't qualify for Childcare Subsidy unless their details are updated on the immunisation register. And I suppose here is my little dig. Anti-vaxxers pay full price in Australia. So how much money do you actually get for Childcare Subsidy? This is all based on your family income estimate. The most you can get is 85% off your childcare, but this only qualifies for families that earn $70,015. For those families that earn between $70,015 and $175,015, they'll get between 85% and 50% off their childcare. And this roughly works out at a sliding scale of 1% per $3,000 that you earn over the $70,015. Why do they have to have such weird numbers? The next threshold after that is $254,305, and that brings you down to 20%. And that's the same sliding scale of 1% for $3,000 again. If you're one of these really lucky people and you've moved to Australia and you've got a fantastic pay rise and your family income is over $354,305, well sorry, the Australian government's giving you nothing. But for the majority of families, Childcare Subsidy is going to make a significant dent in the reduction of your overall costs. If you've got more than one kid, then they'll also get Childcare Subsidy too. But if your total family income is over $190,015, then they'll cap your Childcare Subsidy at a maximum of $10,665. So again, there is a reduction, but if you earn too much, then not for you. There is something called withholding with your childcare subsidy, and what this means is that your childcare provider will actually charge you a 5% extra. This is just in case your family estimate at the end of the year wasn't quite right, and rather than slapping you with an additional bill at the end of the tax year, they'll just take it out of that. So it pays, excuse the pun, it pays to get your family estimate right, and if anything, it's probably better to overestimate your family's income. Because at the end of the tax year, when you fill in your tax assessment, any of that withholding money will just get repaid back to you. So it's a bit like a really rubbish savings account, but everyone likes to get money back from the tax man, rather than having to pay extra. So how do you get all of this free money? I mean, childcare subsidy. You can either brave it and go down to a centrelink office, or you can do it on MyGov and do it all online. MyGov's one of those secure government portals that links up all of your government provided things all in one place. To be honest, I'd actually advise braving it and going down to a centrelink office. The main reason for that is if you're doing it online, you've not really got a person sat behind another desk that can help you out a little bit. Most of the people that work at Centrelink are actually really helpful, and they might be able to give you some tips and advice that's a little bit more specific to your situation. Once you start your childcare subsidy claim, there's a few things that you need to do. The first thing you'll need to do is prove your identity. So the easy one for this is to bring along your passport. By this stage you might also have your Australian driver's licence as an ID and also to prove your address, and it's also pretty good practice to print off your visa grant so that you can prove your residency status. You'll also need some other supporting documents as well. Things like marriage certificates are helpful for proving your partnership. If by this stage you've already got some bills or some tenancy documents if you're renting to prove your address. If you've got a job at this stage, you can also bring along your contract documents to prove your income, or maybe even some bank statements to prove how much you're getting paid. To prove your child's medical or immunisation records, they're also going to want to take your Medicare numbers so that they can check on their database. To be honest, a lot of these documents you're already going to have anyway because you'll have needed them when you applied for your visa. My advice is to keep all of those documents in a folder for safekeeping, because let's face it, moving to the other side of the world means you're going to have to start your whole life again. All this Centrelink stuff is really new to anyone who's migrating. So if someone can hold your hand in the Centrelink office and walk you through it, well, not really hold your hand because COVID, then that's going to be really, really helpful. You can also sign up for some of your other services like Medicare, so if you do it all in a one-er, then you're going to save time. So that's it. Childcare subsidy is pretty straightforward, and it's an absolute lifesaver for anyone that's moving to a new country and doesn't have the same support network that they did back home. If you don't have permanent residency, then at this stage, I'm sorry, but I don't really know what can help. My only advice would be to factor it into your costs and really think about one of you not working for the time being to act as your childcare. If any of you do have any experience with childcare without permanent residency, make sure to leave a comment down below and hopefully you'll be able to help someone out. Because let's face it, moving to the other side of the world is hard enough as it is. If you've enjoyed this or found it useful, make sure to like the video, and if you want to check out our journey moving to Australia and assimilating into Australian culture, make sure to check out our channel, and if that's something you're into, please consider subscribing. But until next time, thanks a lot, see you later.